Here I have all the parts needed for a 4-post multi-tier kit. I've laid them all out on the table. I've included my instructions and packing list so I can compare and make sure that everything's here. It's important to remember that if you purchase several sizes of kits, you should measure the columns and the metal rods to make sure these are the pieces you need for the trophy you're trying to build. The first step is to connect all the metal rods with couplers to create one long rod for the length that you need for the trophy that you're trying to build. It's also important that the rods have a long threaded section and a short threaded section. Make sure at the top of your rod, where you attach your trim, or eagle in this case, you use the short threads, and at the bottom of your rod, you want to have the long threaded section for your base. Now that I have 4 assembled rods, the next step is to pass the rods through the first lid. The lid has a top and a bottom. The top has a beveled edge. The bottom has a countersink for a hex nut. I like to do this upright. It makes it easier to pass the rods through, and it makes it a little faster as well. Once we get all these rods through the lid, we're going to lay it out on the table, and that's where we're going to build our trophy, like so. Next, you want to install check rings and columns. Now, the check rings have a lip that always faces away from the wood of the lids. That way, the round column can seat into the lip. If it's upside down, you'll crush the check ring. So you place a check ring on the rod, then a round column, and another check ring. You do that 4 times, and then install your next lid. As you can see, we've got our check rings, columns and check rings and lids put together to make our multi-tier trophy. The next step is to install the base. It may help to have a second person to do this, but what you want to do is pass the threaded rods through the holes in the base so that you can tighten all the columns up to the base. After you get the columns attached to the base, you're going to want to use the ferrules and a nut driver or a socket and ratchet to tighten it up. Now, some kits come with a hex nut instead of a ferrule. You need to check your instructions and see which one you need for your trophy. Now, once you've got your ferrules threaded into your rods, and while it's still a little loose, you want to go through and make sure that all of your columns are seated into the check rings. If they're not, you can crush a check ring when you tighten down the columns. So you want to make sure that doesn't happen. Next thing to do is tighten them down just a little bit more so that you can stand it up and line up your eagles and columns however you like to. You know, it's your trophy. You customize it the way you like. Once you've got it lined up, you want to tighten it up. Not too tight. You don't want to break anything. You just want to make sure that it's tight enough that nothing moves once you present the trophy. Now we're ready to assemble the upper section of our trophy, which consists of a threaded rod and a coupler. Use the coupler to attach our figure. We're using the female victory figure, but we've got hundreds to choose from on our website. You take the cup lid, pass the rod through it, then the cup, and put the lid to the cup. Next, you want to put your marble lid, shiny side up, which is the finished side, and you want to use your column next through the rod. You want to attach this whole assembly to the wooden lid using a hex nut. Now, we're using our Neon Series columns. This is our purple, but we've got several sizes and colors to choose from. Now, it helps to do this in multiple stages. Don't try to tighten it down and align it at once. Just get it slightly aligned and slightly tightened until you get the whole thing exactly where you want it. You might even get some help to do this, but it's not necessary. Just make sure you take your time to get it done right. All right, that looks good. Next, we want to do our upper and middle and lower trims. We've chosen the star trim for the upper and our female victory for the middle and our first place for the lower. Again, don't tighten them too much. You can pull the threads out of the figure or the trim. If you tighten it too much, just get it enough so that it's not going to move once it's been assembled. The next step is to install the nameplate. These have double-sided tape on them. And they're made of metal, so you can bend them. Be careful not to do that, or you can kink them or warp them. Just peel the double-sided tape off of the back and attach to the face of your base here. Just line it up with your fingers, get it on, and press it down with your finger. And there you go. This is our 4-post multi-tiered trophy from TrophyKits.com.